May 2021, Roswell, New Mexico. Roswell is known for alien encounters, and the town takes every opportunity to point that out to anybody who visits. And our RV park was no exception, as it played up this whole alien theme. With the gravel pads and the gravel driveways, this RV park was way nicer than the one we just came from that was nothing but dirt. Our first trip was to downtown Roswell for a cup of coffee. Keeping up with the whole alien theme, we went to Stellar Coffee. The coffee was good, and we relaxed on the patio while thinking about exploring the Main Street of Roswell. Like most other towns, Main Street is set up for tourists with shops, museums, and souvenir stores. We spent a few hours wandering around Main Street and enjoying the sights. Our next stop took us to Bottomless Lake State Park, which is just outside of Roswell. The state park has an RV park in it, and it's only 15 miles outside of Roswell. The park sits on the shores of Bottomless Lake, which, by the way, is 90 feet deep. Outside of this lake, there's nothing out here, so it's nice and quiet. But then again, it's close to town, so it might be a good place to stay if we come back here again. Our next stop was the Bitter Lake National Wildlife Refuge. This refuge had several small trails that you could walk and a 6-mile-long dirt road that you could drive. We opted to do both. Primarily, we drove all the way around the refuge with a few stops along the way to take some short walks. Honestly, there wasn't a lot to see out here. Yes, we did run across some beautiful flowers that we stopped to take a look at, and there were several places where you can pull over, get some nice scenic views of the lakes that make up this preserve. Outside of that, the most exciting thing we saw was a big old jackrabbit that went running along. After following the rabbit and exploring the refuge, we moved on to our next stop. It didn't take us very long to explore the refuge, so we needed something else to do that day. So after a quick Google search, we decided to go to the Salt Creek Wilderness and see what was available up there. As we've become accustomed to up here, this required us to spend most of our time driving down a dirt and gravel road. After a little bit more than half an hour of driving, we finally made it to the Salt Creek Wilderness, and again, we were somewhat disappointed. This place looked different from where we just came from, but there was absolutely nothing out here. Not a trail, not a road, nothing. So, after wandering around the edge for a short while, we decided it was time to head on back home. So, no lunch with a view today. And besides, there were some storm clouds starting to develop on the horizon. So heading back to the RV was a good idea, and it turned out to be a really great idea. That evening, a thunderstorm blew through with nearly 70-mile-an-hour winds. We learned that storms like this up here turn into massive dust storms. You go outside, you get sandblasted. Well, we hunkered down and simply waited for the storm to pass. Those aliens could have picked a better place to crash, I'm thinking. So, since the parks were all pretty much a bust, we decided to go and drink a little bit. The only place we found was the Pecos Flavors Winery. The last New Mexican wine I had was a disappointment, but this one was really, really good. The winery was a great way to end our stay here in Roswell. We spent a week here at Roswell, and that was probably about 4 days too long. There's nothing to see out here, so we're ready to leave. Now that we can say we've been to Roswell, it's time to move on. So, I hope we'll see you at our next stop.